You are a self-described conservative firebrand. Your podcast is very popular. You go after the Democrats. Interesting, though, on the campaign trail, you and your campaign have been highlighting your bipartisan chops in recent months. How do you square the two?
Well, look, it's possible to walk and chew gum at the same time. I've been in the Senate 12 years, and from the very first day I arrived, my role was number one, to lead the fight for the people of Texas. Now, what does that mean? That means if they're bad policies, policies that will hurt Texas, I'm proud to lead the fight against them. And that's true whether those policies came from Barack Obama or Chuck Schumer or Joe Biden. And we've seen policies after policies really harmful to Texas. Joe Biden's chaotic open border, policies that undermine law enforcement, undermine police officers, release violent criminals, policies that attack jobs, that attack small businesses, that attack energy, policies that make it harder for working men and women to make ends meet, policies that undermine free speech or religious liberty or the Second Amendment. I am proud to lead the fight against every dumbass idea that comes out of the Biden White House. And there is no shortage of ideas that are really bad ideas. Now, at the same time, it is also my job to fight to accomplish real positive victories for the people of Texas. And I've been doing that since the day I arrived. When I was first elected to the Senate, one of the very first pieces of legislation I ever passed dealt with Fort Hood, dealt with Nidal Hasan. You remember that crazed terrorist who murdered 14 innocent souls. And the Obama administration inexplicably refused to award Purple Hearts to the men and women who were shot by Nidal Hasan. They claimed it was workplace violence and not terrorism. That decision was ridiculous. It was absurd. I was on the Senate Armed Services Committee at the time, so I introduced legislation to mandate that those shot by Nidal Hasan would receive the Purple Heart. That legislation ended up getting the support of Democrats, of Republicans. It passed into law. I was there at Fort Hood when those Purple Hearts were awarded. And to each of those wounded and to the families of each of those who were killed, I said, I'm sorry. I said, thank you for your sacrifice, and I'm sorry it took the federal government so long to acknowledge what it was. That was from the very beginning. I have been year after year after year introducing and passing legislation, almost all of it bipartisan, and winning big victories for Texas. You know, one of my biggest victories was in 2017 in the tax cut. I authored the legislation that expands College 529 savings plans to include K through 12 education. It passed at 1:30 in the morning with the vice president casting the tie-breaking vote, and it remains to this day the most far-reaching federal school choice legislation that has ever passed, and it gives every parent and every grandparent the ability to save each year up to $10,000 per child for parochial school, religious school, private school, whatever they choose. It benefits up to 50 million school kids across the country. That was a big legislative victory. I've been doing that every day since I've been here. Actually, this week, the major bill on the Senate floor is the reauthorization of the FAA. I'm the lead author of that, along with Maria Cantwell, the Democrat who's the chairman of the Commerce Committee. I'm the ranking member of the Commerce Committee. That is expected to pass today. When this bill is signed into law, and it should be signed into law in the next week or two, it will be the 100th bill that I have written and passed into law. And so my job here is to do both, to lead the fight against bad things and also fight to accomplish real, meaningful victories for jobs, for the safety and security of Texans, and to protect their rights.
Let's talk a little campaign politics. It looks like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. may get on the ballot in Texas in the presidential contest. Down ballot, do you think him being on the ballot will have a negative effect on you as you run for re-election?
Oh, look, I have no idea. We'll see if he gets on the ballot. Under Texas law, he's got to get a lot of signatures to get on the ballot, so we'll see what happens there. My focus, whether he's on the ballot or not, my focus is the same, which is making the case to the people of Texas that there's a stark divide in this race. In fact, this race may be the clearest choice of any race in the country for Senate. My record, I have been the leading conservative champion in the Senate for 12 years. That is a role the people of Texas know they can count on me to lead the fight for jobs, to lead the fight for security, to lead the fight for freedom. That's something I'm proud of doing. On the other hand, Colin Allred, a very liberal Democrat congressman who's the Democrat nominee running against me, has a hard left voting record. His first 4 years in Congress, he voted 100% with Nancy Pelosi. He literally did not deviate on a single vote. He's voted in favor of open borders over and over and over again. He's voted in favor of releasing violent criminals over and over and over again. He's voted for higher taxes and higher spending and trillions in debt over and over and over again. He just recently voted against deporting illegal aliens who violently assault police officers. Now, just stop and think about that for a minute. As I've said to my colleagues, you can go to any state in the union, you can go to a bright blue state, and gather a room full of just ordinary people and ask them, hey, if an illegal alien beats up a cop, should you deport the illegal alien? And any normal person would say, of course. Not Colin Allred. He voted, nope, they get to stay here. The rule of law doesn't matter. And he also just recently voted in favor of Biden's order stopping new permits to export liquid natural gas. That just hammers Texas. It hurts jobs in Texas. It's bad for America. It's actually bad for the environment as well. But Allred, his voting record is whatever the radical left is, that's what he votes for. You know, I'll tell you, this week, news broke. We're all looking at college campuses across the country, and we're horrified. We're horrified at the anti-Israel protests, the anti-Semitic protests, the threats of violence, the anti-American hatred of the radical left. Well, this weekend, Politico broke a big story that those protests are being funded by Joe Biden and the Democrats' top donors, that they're being funded by George Soros and the Rockefeller brothers and Bill and Melinda Gates and the Pritzkers. Well, you know, it's interesting. Those folks are not just Joe Biden's top donors. They are among Colin Allred's top donors. Colin Allred has accepted $80,000 from those donors that are funding the anti-Israel, anti-Semitic protests on college campuses. So it's a real choice right now. Colin has a choice. Will he stand with the people of Israel and send the money back? Or will he keep the money and say, you know what, I, Colin Allred, like Nancy Pelosi and like the left wing of the Democrat Party, we support these anti-Israel, anti-American protests. That's what we believe. It is sad what's happened to the Democrat Party, but Colin Allred has an opportunity to make a choice and to decide which side he stands on.
Finally, you were the runner-up in 2016 for the Republican presidential nomination. You thought about it seriously again to run in 2024. You decided to run for re-election for the Senate. 28, it's going to be an open seat in the White House. Is there another White House run in you?
Well, listen, that's a decision that will be made down the road. I can tell you right now, 100% of my time and energy is focused on 2024. I'm in a very serious fight in 2024. We need to win the presidency in 2024. I'm supporting Donald Trump. We need Donald Trump to beat Joe Biden. Our country cannot stand 4 more years of disastrous Biden Democrat policies. They've done enormous damage to the country. And we need to win my race in Texas. It's the number one target for Chuck Schumer. It's the number one target. Barack Obama just tweeted out a map of states. Here are the states we as Democrats are going to target. And he put Texas right front and center. They're coming after me. And I got to tell you, Paul, the fact that they're coming after me, I actually wear as a badge of honor. I'd be disappointed if Schumer and Soros and Obama were not trying to take me out. I'd be asking, gosh, am I not really making that much of a difference? Are they not that worried about how effective I am fighting against their policies? Well, their actions speak loudly. They want to take me out. They're not going to succeed. But the reason they're not going to succeed is that I believe there are incredible patriots in Texas and across the country who are going to stand up and say, we're not giving our country up. We're going to fight to pull America back from the brink.